Lovely, so welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda's channel. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you'll be the first person to be notified. And to my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos and also educate, you guys are the real MVP. Alright, lovelies, let's dive into today's video.
So lovelies, I came across these videos on my For You page on TikTok, and I thought to share with you guys because I found these videos very educative, interactive, and also a historical one at that. And I decided to just put it up here for us to, give our own thought on what we think. I'm just gonna roll it as well as some of the other stitches I was able to put together. Please leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational and informative purposes. Alright, lovelies, let's dive into it.
On the plantation outside Charleston, where his family has lived for 8 generations since 1672, Norwood Hasty was asked if he thinks slavery was immoral.
No, I don't. Because when a slave came from Africa, he couldn't speak the language. He was totally untrained to do any job at all that would fit in with the civilization. Someone had to take care of him. Someone had to take care of him 24 hours a day. And it's pretty hard to do that unless you owned a person. So I think slavery just had to be in those early days.
Mr. Hasty, what was life like in those early days?
As far as the colored people were concerned, I feel that they were a good bit happier than they are now. They had less in the way of material things. But I can remember back in the 20s, when I was a small boy, they were always singing at their work. They had a great sense of humor. And now today, they just don't seem to care much about that as they used to. And I think they've lost their sense somewhat, which I deplore.
What do you think are the differences between the races?
I think there's a refusal to accept responsibility. I think there's a lack of motivation. I've tried here to promote people to foremen, superintendents, but they just refuse to do it. They just don't want the responsibility. They don't worry like the white man. If they have troubles, they go to sleep and wake up the next morning, and that trouble is over.
Is it possible that white people have something to do with the lack of ability for blacks to assimilate into this culture?
Absolutely. The white man has certainly been prejudiced, and to quite an extent, unfair. But customs die awful hard. It takes a long time, and everyone knew years ago that the Negro would have to be given equality. But in the South, knowing Negroes as we think we do, we realize it would take time. It's been compared to straightening teeth. It takes a slow, steady pressure. You can't do it with a hammer. And white people's attitudes will change in time. I'm a lot more liberal than I was 5 years ago, and I know I'll be a lot more liberal 5 years from now, and I think almost everyone else is in that category.
What has tended to make you more liberal?
Well, realization that the Negro is a human being like anyone else.
Mr. Hasty, what did you think we were before you began to think of us as human beings?
Well, in a way, we thought of you almost as a very superior pet. Something, or rather someone, we had to take care of. Because we had to do so much of their thinking for them. We had to do almost everything for them except living their own lives. Anything outside, we had to do for them.
If masters did the thinking for slaves, it is not recorded who did the thinking for masters. Most Southerners didn't even own slaves, but they became victims of the glamour surrounding big plantations. Today, there is talk of equality in the future. But it is the romance of the unequal past that still infatuates and torments much of Charleston. For blacks, that past is a little thin on romance. It is true that in a home like this one, Scarlett O'Hara might have lived. And a home like this might have contained an overseer like Simon Legree. But it is an absolute certainty that if I had been around in those days, I would have lived right here. And that, for an increasing number of black Americans today, is what American history is all about.
Benjamin Lay was so committed to ending slavery in the 1700s as a white ally that he lived in a cave and refused to wear clothes made from cotton to disassociate himself from anything connected to slavery. He also kidnapped a slave owner's child before to prove a point about how inhumanely black families who were enslaved were treated when they were torn apart and placed on the auction block. Lastly, he frequently gave dramatic public demonstrations all throughout Philadelphia to prove just how hypocritical slavery was as an institution. For example, one time he went to a public Quaker meeting, stood up in front of everybody, grabbed his Bible and stabbed a hole through it, forcing a blood-like substance to splash on everyone in the crowd. He then looked at the crowd and said, "This is what God will do to every slave owner." What normalized being the most, seeing slavery up close in Barbados and understanding that Christianity does not support slavery.
You're aware that a Negro family has moved into Levittown?
Yes, I heard about it.
What was your reaction?
Dynamite. Dynamite.
What have you done about it?
Well, I guess we just discussed it.
How do you feel about the Myers moving in?
Well, I'm very definitely against it.
Before coming to Levittown, did you have any contact with Negroes?
Well, I came from a small town where we didn't have any colored people.
The Racist History of Each State, Part 8, Pennsylvania edition. What you just saw was part of a documentary called Crisis in Levittown, Pennsylvania from 1957. Levittown was a planned all-white community that opened in 1951, and the plan was for black families to never be able to move there. That was until a white family sold their house to a black family. Daisy Myers and her husband William moved their family into Levittown in 1957. Once the Myers family moved to Levittown, news quickly spread that a black family had moved into this all-white community. And over the course of 9 days in 1957, thousands of white people congregated in front of the black family's home and surrounding area of the neighborhood, blasting music, throwing rocks, trying to intimidate the black family to leave. Even 2 instances where a cross was burned. It wasn't until the 9th day where everything settled down because a police officer was injured during the protest and the state police issued threats to the residents of Levittown. Myers' family would end up staying in Levittown for 4 years, eventually moving to New York. As for Levittown, I guess those white people got their wish because the town is still overwhelmingly white at 87%.
Like seriously, lovely, it's so easy to say that black people, enjoyed being enslaved because during that time, they were actually, singing and working, because they enjoy whatsoever they did or what they were doing back then. This is not actually the first time I'm hearing something like this. I've heard this, from someone before, I think a colored lady who was talking about how slavery was actually not a bad thing. It was enjoyable that those people that were enslaved or people that experienced slavery probably enjoyed it. They had masters that took care of them, masters that were nice to them, masters that paid them for their jobs and services. It's not as bad as it is or as bad as people are making it to be. Like seriously, like how was suffering, how is lynching, how is doing something that is not from you, like that you are not approved of, enjoyment. How is the enjoyment for God? Let's flip the table and see if this enjoyment is suitable for colored people. Let's see if this enjoyment is suitable for colored people. Is it that it's only black people that is meant to enjoy this kind of slavery enjoyment? Yesterday I was just trying to watch some documentaries. There are so many documentaries out there about how it all began and the kind of atrocity these people went through. Like, I didn't see any form of enjoyment there. Like, the suffering was massive. I couldn't even watch the videos because, there's one thing I like about us here. I like the fact that you people keep sending me videos to, check. But sometimes there's some videos you guys send to me that I cannot even see it because I cannot even, I can't bring myself to see it. There's this particular documentary I saw. I think I have to leave the here for you guys to check it out. You have to see the way at which these people were treated. It is nothing to write home about. There is nothing like enjoyment to it. You are a property. You are owned. You are owned. That is what I saw. This enslaved woman was freed. She was freed, but actually separated from her own daughter. She was free on her way going out. She was bought again. You can never be free. Even if you are freed, you will be bought again and be enslaved again. Your children. What kind of enjoyment is that? What kind of enjoyment that someone will come and talk about how people were enjoying it then? It's just a normal way of life. They're not complaining. Even the children then were not complaining because they are probably born into slavery. So they saw it as a way of life. They saw it as the way at which God has destined them to be. How could you call that an enjoyment? How could you say that people then, they loved it, they loved not being free, they loved not being, they loved being captives. I don't even know the words to use. When I saw that video yesterday, I couldn't put it up here because, oh my goodness, it was just something that I cannot withstand. And someone is here talking about how, oh my God, they were all singing and the plantation picking cotton, so they were all enjoying it. They were happier then because they were singing. But right now in this our era, they are so aggressive and angry and blah blah blah. Oh my goodness. So they preferred, us to go back to those days during the time we felt that black people were happier because they were enslaved. Seriously, lovelies. These people are just, I don't know. I don't just get it. When I saw this, it actually reminded me of the third video. A pan-colored woman was just making with her full chest, talking about how it's not as bad as it seems. It's not bad. People enjoyed it. There are some slave masters that treated their slaves very well. Are you serious? No matter how well you treat a slave or a property, freedom still prevails. Freedom is still the number one thing. Do you know what it means to be free to do whatsoever you want, to do things on your own terms and conditions, without being subjected to do such thing because you are owned by someone, and somebody is talking about how it's an enjoyment? Seriously? When I saw this, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna put it up here for us to actually, share our thoughts in the comment section. Anyway, lovelies, leave me your thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational and informative purposes. So please, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comment section, and I will see you, lovelies, when I upload the next one.
Much up to this extent, thank you so much for all the love and support. Why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video? And do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational purposes. Alright, lovelies, please share this video, subscribe, and I will see you, lovelies, when I upload the next one.